All right, so everybody should be aware that this, the meeting is recorded, which means it lives in perpetuity. I'm Gail Usher. I'm the chair of the Woodstock Historic District Commission, and commission members tonight are Stan Swanson, Harold Bishop, and Tim Monahan, and myself. To be able to participate as we go along into the public comment section, there is a function at the bottom of your screen, participants you'll see, and if you click on participants, there should be the ability at the bottom of the list of participants to raise your hand. And that's what you would use to indicate that you wish to be recognized. If it doesn't seem to be working, use the old-fashioned way and wave to signal that you wish to be recognized. We'll ask that only one person at a time speak. Going to make it easier for all of us. And also if you don't seem to be getting acknowledged as wanting to speak, then you can also use the chat feature to indicate that you'd like to be recognized. And I can see that as, well, we can all see, I believe, the chat feature. So we'll know, and I'll be able to call on you. Let's see, when anybody speaks, I'd like you to, for the purposes of the recording, please identify yourself when you are, for the first time speaking, if you'd give your address if you're a Woodstock resident. If you are not, if you represent a firm or you have a specific position, if you would also give that. And then thereafter, you just, as you're coming in to speak, just again, state your name before you begin whatever it is you have to say. That takes care of those rules of the road, I think. Paper down. All right. So I will call the meeting to order. We'll make sure, Stan, you're going to be a voting member this evening, as well as Harold, Tim, and myself. The first order of business, the next order of business is the public hearing. And the rules for the public hearing, the protocol for the public hearing is, I'll read the legal notice. Then one person will speak at a time, again stating your name and address initially, and then thereafter your name. We'll ask the applicant to provide a detailed description of the proposal with all the plans and documentation to support it. After that, the commission, and during and after, the commissioners will ask questions. Then I will call for any supporting comments. We have the opportunity to ask questions. Then I'll call for comments in opposition. And then we'll also have the opportunity for questions. The applicant will be able to speak a final time. Opposition to it will be able to comment a final time. And then we'll close the public hearing. And then the commissioners, we will deliberate on the application. That's the basic procedure we'll follow. Let's see, Stan, if you would take notes. It doesn't look like Earl is able to make it, so if you could take notes of the meeting tonight. And if you just give me a moment, I need to make sure I've recorded everybody that's here. Mrs. Lyman, are you by yourself or is Bruce with you? Let's see. If there's one of you, put one finger up. If there are two of you, put two fingers up. Okay, thank you, Sam. John, Pete, Citizen. Let's see, the person who is identified as Johira of the WEA. Is it possible to identify who you are? Or if you'd prefer to remain anonymous, then that's fine. And you'll need to unmute yourself. Guess they are anonymous. All right, and citizen. All right, thank you. All right. So this is a public hearing for 599 Route 169 for upgrading, widening, and expansion of the parking lot with grassed overflow parking, removal of the small well housing shed, concrete apron in front of the existing barn, pedestrian walkway, accessible ramp, sign, removal of plantings and trees, regrading, slab, an enclosure for dumpster, and landscape plantings. Who's representing the applicant? Who's going to be presenting the application this evening?
Good evening, Madam Chairman and members of the Historic District Commission. For the record, my name is John Guzkowski. I'm a senior planner with CHA Companies based in Mansfield, Connecticut. I'm joined this evening. I'm here on behalf of the applicants, the Rusty Relic, Jamie and Jason Beausoleil, who are the owners. Mr. and Mrs. Beausoleil are with us this evening and will be available to answer questions or to clarify some of the proposal, should it be necessary. I'm also joined by Pete Parent, professional engineer with CHA Consulting based in Mansfield. And Pete is the primary designer on this, and I'll be turning over much of the presentation to Pete shortly. But briefly, this commission has seen this proposal in a slightly earlier form last month. And we, heard that there were concerns about primarily the parking. There were some concerns about, the fact that several of the elements that are being proposed were not listed in the public hearing notice, made it necessary for us to return as well. But all of those improvements were detailed in last month's public hearing. The changes that were made, and I will either ask that we share our screen or that the files be shared for us. We can do this either way, but I'd be happy to go through some of the changes that were made to the proposal. But in brief, and again, for the record, the property at 599 Route 169, which is at the corner of Childs Hill Road, is currently vacant, most recently used as a multifamily or a student housing. The Beausoleils own the Rusty Relic, which is currently a little bit south on Route 169 in South Woodstock. They also have a location in Coventry. They sell handcrafted furniture and antiques and primitives, and believe that this location on Woodstock Hill really reflects very well on the types of products and the types of business they have. And they believe that they would, in converting the space to a partial retail and partial residential, would really enhance the character of Woodstock and its villages. Again, the property is proposed to be used as retail for the main floor and a portion of the second floor of the existing main building. The barn will be used for storage and sort of overflow display. We are going to be improving the parking area because right now there is just a very small 2-track dirt path that functions as a driveway. And because this is going to be a retail space, we need to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is basically the genesis of most of the proposed improvements, which includes the ADA accessible path from the ADA accessible parking area to a handicap ramp, which will need to be constructed on the easterly side of the existing building, which is proposed to match the construction details and architecture of the existing porch, which it will match up with. we are also, adding some landscaping and removing trees based on some of the upgrades that need to be made to the property. But it is the purpose that the Beausolays have acquired this property and are seeking this change with is to retain virtually the entire character of the existing buildings on the site, and in fact to respect them, and to keep them as similar as possible to the existing conditions, because that is exactly the type of character that they want to reflect in their business. So now, if possible, I would be happy to either share my screen or ask Crystal to share the screen with the latest plan set, and would ask Pete Parent to sort of show some of the changes that we made based on input from the Historic District Commission's last hearing.
Okay, I'd say, Crystal, if it's possible, let John go ahead and share his screen. That'll make navigation easier.
Yeah, absolutely. John, the share screen button is at the bottom.
Yeah, and so I'll just ask before I do that to confirm with Mr. Parent, Pete, the PDF dated August 10th should be the correct set?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now I have a question. The PDF that was submitted to us looks like it was August. Right.
August
Make sure
10th.
I've got that. August 10th should be the last one up.
That is correct.
All right.
So, Pete, should we start here?
Yeah, so I think we should discuss one of the main issues that came up was the amount and location of the parking. What we ended up doing was eliminating the grass overflow spots that we had originally proposed and pushed the gravel parking space into the location of where those grass spaces were originally proposed, giving a little bit more of a buffer between Childs Hill Road and the parking area. And then we added some landscape plantings there to add some more buffering. And then we also added some landscaping on the backside of the proposed dumpster, which would be, potentially visible from Route 169. Other than that, we've added some landscaping on the south side there by the ramp. But essentially, the remainder of the plan, as far as drainage and pedestrian access, has remained similar, if not the same as before. We've just relocated the parking and added some additional screening per the conversation last month.
So with the elimination, again, this is John Guskowski, with the elimination of the grass overflow parking, our total numbers came down from, I believe it was 34 to now 21. Is that correct, Pete?
Yes.
And we also, for the record, if you would indulge me, Madam Chairman, we have prepared a visual rendering of the existing and proposed driveway conditions from Childs Hill Road. I'll ask, can everyone see the photo of existing conditions?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So this is existing conditions. You can see the current driveway is in relatively poor condition, not really accessible to standard vehicles, and certainly not for an in and out that would be necessary for the proposed operations. And what I'll show you here is the rendering taken from a slightly offset angle, but the parking, the driveway is moved slightly to the south. And we've added landscape plantings, and so you see that as you approach coming up Childs Hill Road towards Route 169, the proximate parking is screened by a series of plantings, and the other parking is again gravelled and set back off of the road. The parking as it goes around the corner towards the barn and then back towards Route 169 will be further distance from view. And essentially that is the presentation. Again, the Historic District Commission did see the plans and were asked a number of questions about the operations of the facility. None of that is really proposed to change. In terms of the other note that was brought up that I noted from the minutes of the Historic District Commission in July was the Historic District Commission did not wish to see that the handicap ramp was constructed. They didn't want to be constructed out of concrete and made integral to the existing building, so that it could be removed without damage to the historic building at some point in the future. And that is perfectly fine. The applicants are happy to build it out of wood and use sonotubes or small concrete bases for the wood construction of the handicap ramp, so it's not integral to the building. And I'd be happy to answer questions that the commission may have.
Great, thank you. Let's see, I think if everybody's in agreement, I'll start off. Since the biggest change is reduction of spaces in parking, you're still showing 21 parking spaces. And I wondered if you can provide a justification for that number of parking spaces, and as necessary. That's according to the traffic. One of the studies that was done for this, that represents just over 20% of the property would be now paved, and so I'd really like to hear the justification for that. The large size of the parking area, and why are that many spaces needed, and also bring up the fact that the traffic study you had done pointed to the fact that even at your busiest hours there would be a maximum of 5 cars. So 21 spaces seems a bit in excess of 5 cars.
So certainly the 21 spaces represents the equivalent of what the Beausoleils have at their current facilities combined. They have about 18 spaces available in their Coventry location, and then in another, depending, the Woodstock location has a gravel lot, so it's not a defined spaces. So they have 4 to 6 spaces there available to them. So that's where we came up with the 21 spaces that we were trying to achieve. And in regards to the discrepancy between the traffic study and the number of parking spaces, this is kind of a situation where one of these looks at a worst case scenario and one of them looks at an average scenario. So traffic studies are based on average daily traffic, where parking spaces are kind of based on what's our worst case scenario, so that we don't have people parking in the street or parking along the driveway and creating a safety issue.
I can appreciate that, and I understand what you're saying is combining the parking from the 2 different locations, but then of course the prominent location in the Woodstock Historic District is very, very different from 2 different locations in much more in totally different types of locations. So the parking will need to reflect the criteria of the historic district. One can't transplant 2 different commercial locations into a historic district and use that as the reasoning behind choosing, behind determining the number of spaces. Do you still anticipate using grassed area for overflow?
No, we've eliminated the grassed overflow spaces.
All right. And it should be noted that currently there are no paved areas on that property other than a sidewalk that runs along Child Hill Road, and then the crossing section that's right there at the corner of Child Hill Road and Route 169, but the property itself does not have any paving. As we saw from the photograph, it is entirely, it's just a dirt road, a dirt driveway, and it has been that type of pastoral setting and undeveloped setting for decades, if not 2 centuries. That's just of note. My next question has to do with the ramp. The front door of the property is your main entrance, but we still question the location. Ideally, a ramp like that it just seems to make sense to try and locate that ramp perhaps on the north side L door that is shielded from both Route 169 and Child Hill Road. It's closer to where you've located the accessibility parking. There is an existing pathway there already that could be made to comply with ADA regulations for a walkway. And it would seem that that would be a much more practical location, and it would certainly conform much better with the requirements of the historic district if that could be the entranceway that is made, that utilizes the handicapped ramp.
If I might, just John Guskowski, I will ask Jamie and Jason Beausoleil to sound off if I'm saying something incorrect, but I believe that the interior architecture of the building makes the rear entrance that you're suggesting, Madam Chairman, highly impractical and possibly not really possible without changing significantly the historic interior architecture of the building. I believe the rear would go through a tight kitchen and would have to try to get through a couple of doorways, inter-room doorways that are currently not up to code, that are not anticipated as being part of the retail space. I think particularly sort of the rear kitchen area, it really doesn't function as a public entrance in any practical sense. But it's certainly a worthwhile suggestion from a exterior visual standpoint, but practically it's very, very problematic.
A question about the location of the dumpster. Currently, it's on the Route 169 side of the barn. Is there any reason why it couldn't be on the east side of the barn? On the opposite side of the barn?
It could be located there, but then it would interfere with the parking that we have coming around that corner. So by putting the dumpster on that side of the barn, we would then have to force parking closer to Childs Hill Road in order to achieve an acceptable number of parking spaces and allow a truck, a garbage truck, to be able to pull in there, unload the trash, and turn around and get out.
Or you could reduce the number of parking spaces off, which would then provide you with ample space for the truck to get in and offload the dumpster, and get out.
This is John Guskowski. The other thing I would just note, Madam Chairman, is that the dumpster will be screened by landscaping. So the visual element, which is the Historic District Commission's purview, you will not see a dumpster. You will see planting.
We will see a stockade fence.
You will not see a stockade fence.
And we will see plantings that are likely to not be, that may or may not survive. So I was up there this morning and I took a drive by. The location is pretty prominent there, overlooking Route 169. And plantings would have to also not only go across that one end, but they'd have to also go across the back of the stockade fence. And even then, you're still going to see that stockade fence from that location. So it would be prominent. It would be desirable, I think, for it to be located at the other side of the barn. Which brings me to the barn apron. I wondered if you could speak to why the, you need a, and I don't see the dimensions of that other than 15 feet wide. What's the entire length of that barn apron? John or Pete?
I believe Pete's probably measuring it up. I'll let him answer
Okay.
that.
So the barn and the apron are both about 90 feet long.
Right, 90 feet. So if you could help us to understand why you need a 90 by 15 foot apron in front of the barn, which only has one small entrance door on the east side of that barn, of that apron, and then it has a garage door side entrance on the west side of that facade of the barn.
So there is a garage door and a man door on that side.
Correct.
Actually two man doors on that side. So the intent is that, you know, a delivery vehicle could be able to pull up onto that ramp and be unloaded and not impact the parking, and, you know, provide a dry, solid space for unloading of the goods that the Boesleys wish to store inside that barn.
The next point that I'd like some information about is the archaeological study. As we mentioned at the last meeting, this is a location of potential high archaeological sensitivity, as it is in an area of earliest of the English settlement in Woodstock, and also has the potential for thousands of years of native settlement as well. We would require prior to any kind of approval of plans, we'd require a formal plan for an archaeological survey and added to that, which would then prompt, depending on the results of the survey, the need for a full archaeological study to be done on any areas that are going to be excavated. Are you in the process of compiling or of creating that archaeological study, or have you moved forward on plans to address that?
We have not at this point, John Guzkowski. My question to you, Madam Chairman, is I understand obviously Woodstock Hill is a historic area. This building and this property, these buildings and this property have been there for well over 100 years, have been used for farming purposes, have been used for residential purposes, and the entirety of the activity that we propose to improve the property exists within the existing footprint of the buildings and driveways. I'm not sure on what basis this specific request would be made, that there is some archaeological sensitivity for a property that has been essentially developed and occupied for over 150 years.
The house itself was built in 1805, so it has been on site for over 200 years, and it has remained largely pastoral. We've got record shots of it as from 1898, which shows basically the same buildings there. So we know that for at least 100 years, it's been at depth, it's been largely untouched. And so that would be the purpose of an archaeological survey, would be to see if in fact since you are proposing excavation, you've got to excavate for the rain garden, you've got to excavate for the drainage, and based on all of the different drainage that you are proposing, you've got to excavate for all of the parking. You're going to excavate around the barn as well. It's it was a farm, as you said, but the house lot itself was not farmed. It was a house lot. So it has the potential for being archaeologically sensitive, and it's incumbent upon us to address that that aspect of the property because of the excavation that's proposed, and to determine if it is in fact, does in fact contain archaeologically important and locate sites. All right. My next question, it comes regarding the rain garden. Do you have some more detailed information concerning the rain garden, depth of excavation? Well, first of all, why do you feel the need to put in a rain garden of that size?
This is Pete Parent. The rain garden is sized to treat the water quality volume off of the proposed parking areas. That's mandated by Connecticut stormwater regulations. We have to treat the first inch of runoff by providing retention or detention of that volume. And that's what the volume of the rain garden is based on. And 1 inch of runoff off the parking area, the sidewalk, and any new impervious areas.
And so the location, the elevation of the parking area is such that you do anticipate that the runoff will be in the direction of the intersection of Route 169 and Child Hill Road.
Correct. The existing site drains in that direction, and the proposed site will continue to drain in that direction.
And the dimensions of the rain garden, even though I know it's an amorphous shape, but if you could give an approximate width and depth.
Feet wide by 75 feet long. The more, and then the upper one is about 50 by 30.
So the first one, you said 5 by
So
75?
the 80 by 75 is the larger one that's closer to Childs Hill Road and 169.
Mm-hmm.
And 50 by 30 is the smaller one that's closer to the parking area.
Right. So it will therefore take up a significant percentage of that side yard, the area between the parking and between the driveway parking and, let's say, the corner intersection. We would like a detailed list of plantings that would accompany the proposal, as well as a maintenance schedule.
So
And-
on sheet 3 of 4 of the plan set, we call out for the rain garden to be seeded with native grass and perennial seed mix as supplied by Ernst Conservation Seeds. We can certainly provide you with the species that are included in that. And
yes,
then on sheet 4 of the plan set, you will see the stormwater operation and maintenance plan on the lower right-hand corner of the sheet, and that outlines the maintenance that is required during construction and post-construction of the rain gardens, as well as the gravel driveway.
I did read that, and it was a very rudimentary statement of maintenance and didn't really address a commitment to maintaining these types of plantings. It's very easy for gardens that are put in to quickly get out of control within a short period of time, and because of the prominent position, it would then become an eyesore and potentially fail in its purpose for handling the runoff. So that's just a requirement for something like that is going to be installed. And my next question regarding the rain garden has to do with you've got a spillway. So, and I looked at some of the detailing, but if you could describe for everybody a little more completely the spillway that you're proposing to create, and then also address whether or not there's going to be any riprap as part of this?
So there is not proposed to be any riprap stabilization. The flows through this are at a low enough velocity that there isn't any issue that the grass can handle the tractive stress that's generated by the water. The spillway is essentially just a low point in the earth berm that we're creating to retain the water. It's not going to be any kind of concrete structure or a stone armored device. It's simply just a low point in the earth berm that will be covered in grass that will allow the water to exit the structure after it's been retained sufficiently to meet the water quality goals.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, my next question has to do with the signage that you're proposing. As I read the proposal and as it was explained to us last month, you're going to be taking the existing sign that is currently on Route 169 in South Woodstock and relocating it to basically the corner of Route 169 and Child Hill Road. Last week, you didn't have any information on how you were going to be mounting that sign, last month rather. Do you have further information on that?
This is John Guskowski. If it's appropriate, I would like to invite Jamie and Jason Beausoleil to speak up. I hadn't clarified with the Beausoleils how they intend to mount the proposed sign. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Yes. Hi, this is Jason. My wife, Jamie Beausoleil. What I first wanted to say is, we do have a store in Coventry. We started in Woodstock a couple years ago. And now, we just exploded in the town of Woodstock. I just want to add that, Woodstock is our home, and, we purchased a house on 599, and we're excited to go in. We're the most followed country store in New England, so I know that you had a question about the spots in the parking lot, and those are going to be sufficient. I can tell you that. 9 times out of 10, when people cash out, they always ask, "Where do I go from here?" I always send them to the restaurants, the bakery, the Christmas barn, wherever. So, Woodstock, the economic help we do in Woodstock is very sufficient, and I think that should, and I totally agree with everybody on the board right now. And integrity of Woodstock Hill is a priority, and I don't want to change anything. The house is going to be beautiful, and I don't want it to look commercial from the roadside. I don't want nothing about commercial. As far as the dumpster, arborvitae's, we hired a professional landscaper to take over. He's been in business 2 generations. Sunset Nurseries already came out, looked at the project. So, that being said, I just want to let everybody know that Woodstock Hill, I know the integrity, and it's on the top. I don't want to offend anybody, and I want to make it beautiful. So, but as far as the sign goes, I would like to put it, mount it in the ground, something small. Everybody's going to know where we are. It's not, it's not like I have to, we go down to Pennsylvania every single week. That's where actually we are now. We're at a rest stop. We pulled over. So, we have 6 different Amishmen that make all our furniture, American-made Amish furniture. We carry in the store, very low lit, very relaxing. So the house is pretty much turnkey. We want to, restore the barn in the future. We want to fix it up. Right now, it's, a lot of repairs that need to be made to date. I want to make sure that everybody knows everything's gonna be repaired to the era of the house. It's very important to me and my wife. So that's it. Any questions, let me know. But I just want to make sure everybody knows that I know the integrity of Woodstock Hill, and it's very important to me and my wife. And so.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for joining the meeting from a rest stop in Pennsylvania.
I got the traffic. I can't really hear too good. So we're all nervous because I'm driving. I'm like, we got to get off. The meeting starts in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And so I thank you for managing to find the rest stop that's not, it's not
Yeah.
too busy. And I thank you for your commitment to the maintaining the historical integrity of the hill and really maintaining the character defining features.
Yeah. I don't want, excuse me, man, 1 second. I just want to let you know, I don't want to change any, I don't want to, when you're driving by, I don't want to be able to see the cars. I don't want to be able to see, nothing's going to be outside. All you're going to see is flowers and a beautiful house, and it's
Okay. Good. So in terms of that sign, what are your plans for mounting it into the ground?
I was going to look at, maybe like a old 6x6 or something and kind of make a, nice old piece of barn wood. I have a couple pieces in the barn upstairs I was actually going to use, I found, and mount that into a nice, rustic sign. That's all. It's something, it's not going to be lit. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that.
So one of the things that people need to be aware of when they're coming before us with an application is that we need very much specifics. So the sign piece, we need not only to know, we know now what you're going to use that sign, but it will be important for us to also know how exactly it's going to be mounted. So you'd have to come back to us with the specifics of the sign mounting mechanism. We really have to have very, very good detail. We have to know exactly what it is we're approving. And instead of just a kind of a conjectural.
If I'm sorry, if I might, Madam Chairman, it sounded to me like Mr. Beausoleil was proposing that it be mounted from that there would be a one vertical post coming up from the ground that is wood, that is ideally historic wood, and then there would be a cross piece, and the existing sign from Route 169 would be mounted below that with the existing hardware in an unlit fashion. If that is not acceptable to the Historic District Commission, I'm sure the Beausoleils would be happy to listen to alternatives, but that would be the proposal.
Yes.
Okay. As opposed to a couple of pieces of barnwood.
Yeah, I found some old timbers upstairs in the barn. It'd be perfect to put in,
All right. The reclining is, when one looks at the South Woodstock sign, there is a sort of a leaning silhouette against that. Is that part of your sign, or is that what's
That's not ours.
That's grand. That's grand.
That's great.
Okay. And the same with the door that's leaning up against the tree. Okay.
Yep, that's yours.
Not yours. All right. And then you were talking about lighting, so the sign won't be lit, and going forward there's no planned lighting at all for the parking area or any other part of it. Is that correct? In the interim, since we've talked, there has been no lighting has been added. The lighting has not changed.
That's correct.
Could you address us, let us talk a little bit about the walkways and the material that the walkways will be made of?
Pete, could you address that?
Certainly. So the walkway adjacent to the standard parking spaces will likely be gravel. It's proposed as gravel on the plan. That's the intent right now. The walkway from the accessible spaces to the accessible ramp will either need to be concrete or asphalt or some other hard material to comply with ADA regulations. At this point, the Beausoleils have not decided on whether that will be concrete or asphalt. Certainly, I think if the Historic District had a preference, they would certainly be open to any suggestions, but right now, there is not a defined solution for that. It needs to be either asphalt or concrete in order to comply with ADA.
Right. All right. Next question comes back to what Jason said. He didn't want anything on the exterior. The house, the current location in South Woodstock, has a lot of decorative elements on the exterior of the building that potentially are yours, and it also has items that are semi-permanent, used outside. Could you speak to how that would translate to the 599 location?
Yeah, we're gonna have nothing outside, nothing at all. We have enough room in the house to have everything inside. You know, we're gonna have very low music and just a relaxing for everybody to come through, and just it's a relaxing environment. You know, and we met some really really great people in Woodstock and everywhere. So we have a lot of friends that come and just so yeah, nothing would be outside at all. I can promise you that. Besides the flower beds and whatever beds are there now, we can keep. And it's a professional landscaper. Will be there every single week, pruning, mulching. Every week he's going to be there, and so we want to make it beautiful. Me and my wife are very proud, and being the most followed country store in just 4 years in New England is a good. It's like an honor to us. And how better would be the Woodstock Hill? It's
Could you say that again? I didn't get that you're the most what?
We're the most followed country store
Okay.
in New England. And I just think, I don't know, Woodstock Hill is just, it'd be perfect, and so.
So how is that, how have you seen that, by followed, you mean on your Facebook?
Followers,
Or your
yes, we have over
Twitter
20,000 followers on social media.
Okay.
Yeah.
Social media. So
Yep.
have you seen that translate into
Yeah.
business?
We
How
do.
is-
We have, between on the weekends, 10 to 15 orders a day on Amish furniture. We have a website people order off of. Then like the truck is full now, so I go and deliver, or people can pick up. We ship a lot. So we're at the post office every day. So it's been really good. And we sell a lot of smalls, a lot of little things as well, candles and berries and scarecrows and Christmas items, and so yeah, it just fits the age of the house with all the hardwood floors and the fireplaces. It's gonna look beautiful. All our dining room tables, they're all Amish made, come in all different sizes. All the color swatches are there, so people come in from all over and they order from us.
So are you seeing most of your customer base is mostly an online business, or is your following also translating to foot traffic, people coming to your location?
It's about both. People come from all parts of Connecticut, Mass, Rhode Island,
New Hampshire.
And then once they're in the town, they always say, "What do we do from here? Where do we go?" We send them to Sweet Evelina's a lot, like I said, the bakery, and Woodstock
Orchard.
Pizza, Orchard, yeah.
The vineyard.
And then people come in after, and they bring their friends and family, and they try it out. And so I always tell them that Sweet Evelina's has the best pizza and best fish and chips in the state.
You got it. So on an average, say weekend, what in South Woodstock, how many people do you think you see on a day?
It varies between weather. You know what I mean? Sometimes in the summer months, it's a little slower because people are at the beaches. But this year it seemed to get pretty busy because people are staying home doing projects around the house. So it varies. But I can definitely say that the parking lot is good. I mean, it's not going to be full all the time, but at least they're not going to park on Child Hill Road, or they're not going to park in the church. So and it's if we need the parking, it's there. It's been really good. And I think shutting down the carpentry store and moving into Woodstock, all combining everything into one. We're doing it because it's so hard to have two stores running when you have kids and school, and it's hard.
Yeah,
so it'll be a lot easier with one location, and so yeah.
Do you have, now I noticed that down at the South Woodstock location, you have a large truck?
Yeah.
And what's going to happen with that?
What's that? Yeah, that's just a friend of mine. So that won't be going to Woodstock. We had it there just for decoration to kind of tie in the buildings. I thought it would look nice. But that won't be going to Woodstock. So.
Are there any other large items that you have at the Coventry store?
Oh, no.
No. Then the last thing I just wanted to speak about is the well house, which I note from the plans when we've proposed removing that well house that's on a little bit of a promontory there on the property. And I know that it's in a location that is where it will be compromised due to the parking. You need to be aware that any structure that is where demolition is proposed, even a small-ish one like that, will, once you have your permit will require a permit. And once you have your permit, then there's an automatic 90-day delay while the historic district determines if in fact it can be demolished. And we also work with you to try and find ways not to demolish it, because we really don't like to lose our older utility buildings that are so few in the district. So it might be advantageous to think about reworking that plan just a little bit to be able to accommodate that well house rather than to lose it.
Yeah, I don't know if John's gonna speak. I mean, if we can work around that, John, or I don't know how that works, but I wouldn't want to wait 90 days just because, then we're looking at after the,
First of the year.
yeah, I mean, all our busy time and stuff. Maybe, is there something we could do, John, to get around that so we can actually keep that historical piece? Or maybe do a wall around it or somewhat, or like
we can look at it. I mean, it's sort of in the center of the parking area, but we could also look at options of retaining the structure, but possibly relocating it to so it's more prominent and still restored. But we could look at it if that was a critical element.
And it might help by opening up, losing 1, 2, 3, or 4 parking spaces there would open up that east end of the barn area to be able to relocate the dumpster. Anyway, I'm sorry to have, other commission members sorry to have taken up so much of time of your questioning, but over the course of really studying the plans, I came up with all sorts of things. So I'm going to call on the other commission members, Harold, Stan, and Tim, to go ahead with questions that you may have regarding the plans. Harold, do you have questions?
I can address just the subject that you just brought up about the well house. I'm looking at the diagram here, and I would think with possibly eliminating a couple of parking spots that you could, as suggested by Gail, would be helpful.
Tim or Stan, do you have questions? Stan, you'll need to unmute yourself. Nope, you're back mute. Okay.
Okay, you hear me?
Yes.
All right. First of all, I still have a concern with plantings obscuring things that you shared, the viability of trees, especially as we face droughts, is kind of up in the air. And I think using plantings to hide the proposed handicap ramp in that location only kind of makes obscuring a house itself even worse. So I'm wondering if the existing back door in the L doesn't work, if there's a way to cut in to the back of the main house and put a door there. I wonder if that's been explored. I'd like to hear some feedback on that. It seems to me, am I correct in assuming that the parking lot is mostly gravel?
This is John Guskowski. To answer your questions in turn, the first question was, did they explore cutting into the back of the house? No, they did not. At this point, the architectural integrity of the house is very important to them. Yes, the majority of the parking lot is gravel. The only part that is not proposed to be gravel are the ADA spaces, which are going to be asphalt.
Okay, so if the parking is gravel, wouldn't that absorb a lot of the rainwater, and so you wouldn't need so much of a rain garden? Or is it water still run off of that? I'm not up on that. So
over time, and I'll let Pete clarify. Actually, Pete took his microphone off. I'll let you answer it, Pete. You do better.
Yeah. So there are a couple of schools of thought on gravel parking spaces. Some people treat them as more pervious than an asphalt parking space, but over time, as John was about to say, that they become very compacted, and they end up basically acting like pavement from a runoff perspective. And that's the town's position on previous applications that we've provided them. They have required us to treat stormwater off of gravel areas the same as we would treat it off of paved areas.
okay, getting back to the ramp, if the architectural integrity of the house is going to be compromised either by a ramp in the front or a ramp in the back, it seems like a trade-off to me. Is there a window back there or something that could be, that area could be used to make a door in that, under that existing header or whatever, and put the ramp there, as I was questioning?
My answer is I don't know what the exterior features are on the back of the house offhand.
Okay.
Jamie and Jason, if that's something you want to address.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, sir. But in the rear of the house, you got 2 bathrooms, and then as you come in, you get the fireplaces there, so that wouldn't work. At least on the porch, the side porch, all you need is that railing to take off. And then, like I said, I know you're worried about the plantings, but something low, just enough to hide the ramp a little bit, but not the house at all. You can see how much vegetation is against the house now. So, I want to take all that stuff out of there, because right now it's just rotting the boards, and put all new landscaping in, professionally done by our landscape architect that came last week. That's, I understand when you want to hide the ramp, but I think the ramp will be pretty much hidden with low vegetation coming off that side of the house, and then, then veer it into the walkway, with plants from the walkway inside the house, all mulched with beautiful plants and stuff. So, but I know what you're saying about that in the back, but just, the customers would have to come through the kitchen, with the students use for housing, and it's just not, the kitchen's tight. You can't really get through there, and it would be tight for the customers. At least if they come into the front door, they get like the wow factor. You come in, you see the fireplaces on both sides, and that's what we're kind of looking for, a nice wide entrance, so customers can come up double the time, walk in the house, rather than single file through the side of the house, so.
And we don't want to cut into the house.
Yeah, I don't want to cut into the house, Again, this is important as to you guys, to me, and I want to keep the house. I want to do as less demos as I can, so that's the main thing here for us, because.
Well, I'm wondering why a kitchen on the first floor is a factor if the residential area is going to be upstairs.
We weren't going to use the back of the house downstairs. It's going to be office space and our break room.
Yeah.
So that whole L off the back of the house isn't going to be for retail space at all. So customers aren't going to be in there. That's why we want them to come in the front.
Yeah.
They're not going to be in the back at all.
Okay. And as, in terms of the apron on the barn, is there a reason why you couldn't just have the apron, a small apron where the barn door for taking your products in and out be sufficient?
I just wanted it to all look nice and tie right into the barn. You know, I got a guy coming down. That barn is that backside toward 169. Those wires that are holding up the sides of that barn, those have to be tightened. That barn's actually needs some
The
work.
foundation.
The foundation, so I had to get that work done. And I wanted to get the front done just so I didn't want anything on the road anymore on the front. And, you know, then I can just to make it look nice and protect that foundation at least this year from the whole side of the barn, because it's eroding. It's not, you know, it's not that that barn needs some work. I just don't want it to get too far. So I
you're
just wanted
saying-
to get one
Yeah.
project done.
So I'm going to ask if, as we're talking about it, then what you're saying is that that south side of the barn,
Yeah.
the barn foundation on the south side is eroding at the
Correct.
moment, it's, right?
Correct.
So if you go ahead and put in a concrete pad, a concrete apron in front of it, that's, if,
No, it won't be in front. It'd be on the other side. So I'm just putting the concrete apron against the, as you pull into the parking lot there, that side. The other side there, toward 169 on the field side. That's what I'm talking about, where the foundation
okay.
is eroding. Yeah, so that
Mhm.
has to be worked on before winter. You know, I need to get that. So a lot of projects to do. I just wanted to get in there and
I have
Understand.
one more question. Can you still hear me?
Yes, Stan, we can.
In terms of the dumpster being on the other end of the barn and more hidden, you mentioned access for the truck to dump it. Couldn't you schedule the truck to come in there before business hours, before people were parking there, so that the dumpster could be put there?
yeah, John, I can arrange the dumpster if that's an issue, and you wanted that dumpster on the other side of the barn, you know, so you wouldn't see it from 169. We can do that. I mean, I don't want that to hold things up anymore, you know. And I can schedule. I wouldn't want a dumpster coming in at business hours. So for sure, our hours are going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 to 5, and Sunday, 11 to 4. And that's how it's always been. So, you know, the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is when we go to Pennsylvania. So on those days, that's when, you know, the dumpster would be dumped. And, you know, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when we're closed. So.
All right, well, we'd have to then consider the view from Child Hill Road. So
Right.
maybe CHA could work on just how that could be disguised or whatever. That's it for me at this time.
Thank you. Tim?
I have no questions. I think all mine have been answered.
All right. Harold, do you have anything else?
I just think a side entrance would be much more advantageous for the property other than the entrance to the front of the house. So
You mean you
question
mean
on
the
that.
back, the north side of the L entrance,
right.
right? Well, I think based on what I'm hearing, you know, that Jason and Jamie are saying potentially the inside is problematic for that, but it seems to me we perhaps need to do a site visit to really kind of try and understand location and what the constraints of the interior are, and if it would be able to be ADA compliant. They do have that other entrance to the house that is, let's see if I can find it, that is not the main entrance, but it's a side, it's the south, yes, it's on the south side. There's another entrance to the building. You know, realistically, the number of people that need assisted access is less than the number of people that are going to be coming in through the main entranceway. It's possible that farther east side entrance might also be an option to look at.
May I speak on that?
Yep.
That south entrance that you're talking about also comes into the kitchen. The handicap ramp, we were going to use all our customers to use that entranceway just so they're not coming in from the stairway in the front of the house because it's so close to the street. So we wanted to keep them away from that.
All right, so your objective part, in addition to making it accessible, then you're providing accessibility for those who need it, is also to serve as as the pathway of entrance for your
everybody.
establishment, for everybody going up and using that to enter. All right. Right. So regarding the ramp, that we're going to need to see specific, if in fact you're agreeable to moving away from a concrete ramp, which is a fixed construction that is much harder to reverse, then we're going to need plans then for the change that will be made for that.
Okay.
Let's see. So, Stan, do you have any additional questions at this time?
No, but I would be willing if they are to do a site visit and get a little better handle on what the options are.
Okay, and Tim, you have no additional questions at this time?
No, I do not.
Okay, then we'll open it up for public comment. And let's see if I can see who's comment. Crystal, I'm not sure I can see hands raised.
I don't have any hands raised at this minute. Oh, wait. Kristen?
Yes.
Oh, there they are. Yep. Chris, all right. So Kristen, go ahead.
My name is Kristen Heidert. I'm at 36 Old Hall Road. I have one comment and one observation, or question, actually. My first comment, and I'm going to speak to this in my capacity as a professional archaeologist, there was some question regarding the archaeological sensitivity of the property and the need for an archaeological survey. The property, in the grand scheme of things, the house is 1805. There were people settled on that lot in the late 17th century. And Clarence Bowen, in his History of Woodstock, discusses the fact that a trading post was set up in, I believe, 1692, 1693 by several people two brothers in Woodstock. And where that trading post was set up based on his map reconstruction is where the parking is proposed. If there is any evidence of that, any surviving archaeological evidence of that trading post, and there very well could be, because in my experience in 20 years of doing archaeology, agricultural and residential use leaves a fairly mild footprint on the landscape. It would be extremely significant in terms of early historic period interactions among English settlers and the Christianized and non-Christianized Native Americans who lived in the area as part of John Eliot's mission in this area. My second question is, I would like to return from the last HDC meeting to the Route 169 access and ingress, egress and ingress to the property. I am now speaking as a parent. I have 2 boys, one of whom is currently walking to Woodstock Academy, and my second son will be walking there in 2 years. I am extremely concerned about the traffic as it exists right now on 169 on that curve. I take walks in the area myself very frequently and am often in fear of my life crossing that part of 169. Could you provide some more details about exactly what safety protocols you have in place to prevent unauthorized entry or exit from that driveway?
Yeah. We're gonna put a gate there, so there's not even gonna be a sign. We're gonna have a gate because I know how dangerous that corner is. So there will be a gate and there will be no access whatsoever. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So just to clarify, that is you are planning to install a gate at the end of that driveway as it enters onto 169.
Right. And it won't be a metal gate. It'll be something nice wood gate, some early wood. I'm gonna make it looks just like the house siding. Yep.
Right. And just as a note, that will have to come before us for the plan will have to come before us for approval before you install it. All right. Thank you, Kristen. One question, Kristen, in your capacity as an archaeologist, do you therefore then support the recommendation for a survey to be done prior to any kind of excavation work?
I do.
And if it's found to be significant, then therefore the next step that then one would have to consider how best to protect what to do with what is the information that one finds as a result of the survey, correct?
Yes, there are several other steps. If we do find something that is potentially National Register eligible, there are several other steps beyond that in terms of evaluation and ultimately mitigation that would have to be pursued.
Let's see, is it possible, I think just in terms of for the purposes of of Jason and Jamie and trying to, think about this, a survey, approximate time frame that a survey would take, is this something that is a 2-week project or a 2-month project on an average, realizing that until one makes a specific plan for the property, it's difficult to know, to pin it down exactly, but in general, are they, if they're as they're thinking about this, are they, once they've contracted with a professional archaeologist, is it going to be something that could be taken care of in, say, 2 weeks versus 2 months or 6 months?
Typically, the level of, the initial level of survey that we would be looking at would be about, on average, a 3-month process.
Okay.
Between excavation and the review timelines that go into that, including HDC's review of the material.
All right. Thank you. I think that's probably helpful for them in calculating this. So we're looking, let's see.
I would also note that would be the first phase of work on the property. If something potentially National Register eligible was identified, then that would extend the timeline out significantly.
Right. Thank you, Kristen. We appreciate that, your information and your questions. Jean, I see your hand raised. You're going to need to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
I think I'm unmuted.
You are.
I?
Yes.
Okay. Jean McClellan. I live at 582 Route 169, diagonally opposite 599. I will see parking from my kitchen window. I have some questions, clarification based on attending the Planning and Zoning meeting that perhaps I could be addressed. At the Planning and Zoning meeting, the hearing was continued because the August 10th plans were not the most current plans, and those plans were to be forthcoming. So is the Historic District Commission now working with, it sounds as if we're working within the district thinking with the same plans that were presented to Planning and Zoning that were not the most current. That's a long-winded way.
If I might, Madam Chairman, that is incorrect. We submitted the correct plans to Planning and Zoning and Historic District. Unfortunately, Planning and Zoning put up the incorrect plans. Historic District had the wisdom to put up the correct plans.
So, Mr. Gostkowski, what you're saying is that the August 10th plans are the most current plans.
That's precisely what I'm saying.
Yeah, great, thank you. At that meeting also, I thought I was getting some new information. I had understood, and perhaps again incorrectly, that the entire upstairs was to be residential, downstairs was to be the store. But then in the Planning and Zoning, did I get the impression that in fact the residential piece was only going to be an apartment in the back wing upstairs, and that the main front section of the house upstairs would also be used for retail?
I think that's what we heard from from Jamie and Jason Beausoleil, was that a portion of the upstairs level might be made available for some additional retail space. But in either event, these are things that are happening inside the building and are neither the concern of Planning and Zoning nor Historic District when it comes to a regulatory matter.
I guess the only thing would be the scale of the retail establishment. I guess John Gostkowski would be the question that could raise. And I was
How is that a matter for the Historic District Commission when we're talking about the interior of the building?
You're correct. It was a question that came to me because of the Planning and Zoning, but I agree, I understand it's not something that's before the Historic District tonight. There was discussion at the Planning and Zoning meeting. Jason Beausoleil said that there would be outdoor display of materials, but tonight he's saying no, there will not be. I hope tonight's stance is his final decision on this subject. Outdoor display, even if it's just during the day, would not really be in keeping with the Historic District. Do the 21 parking spaces include the ADA parking?
This is John Gostkowski. Yes, they do.
They do. Okay.
That's the grand total.
That's the grand total. Okay. There was discussion at one point, I thought, about a barn, what the actual width of the barn apron. Is it 15 feet or 25 feet of concrete?
This is Pete Parent. It's 15 feet wide.
1.5.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Discussion of ADA walkways. Concrete and asphalt sound pretty industrial to me in terms of an historic district. I think there are other hard surfaces, brick walkways and such, that could be considered and might be more in keeping with a federal period house than the asphalt or concrete. That would be a comment. In terms of archaeology, something that has not been mentioned yet, but might also be a consideration, is the proximity, or actual proximity at least, to the Connecticut Path. The Connecticut Path basically ran up Child Hill Road and down what's now called Old Hall Road, over to Pulpit Rock Road and across some fields and on and on. But that section of Child Hill Road, or vaguely that section, was considered part of the Connecticut Path, has been for a long time. And that, of course, was the route that the Native Americans traveled before the settlers were here. So there could be even more, and it was used for trading. It was a lot of things on that Connecticut Path. I think those are my main comments at this point. I don't know, are the Beausoleils, they're still on?
Yes.
Yes, we're still on.
Yeah. I guess I really have a question why you would want to be in the historic district. I know you think it's historic and that it fits with your things, but you're going to get a lot of really fine grained, I mean, you're hearing about the archaeological, and you know, we've lived within the historic district.
I understand, ma'am, if I could interrupt. You know, I want to say one thing. We've had hundreds of people come in and support us about being on the Hill. People that live on the Hill, people that live in Woodstock, everybody is very supportive. And you can ask yourself one question. All the businesses in Woodstock are going to thrive and benefit us being on the Hill. Now, I know you're not a business owner, right? But you know. So everybody's going to benefit. I think the economics in Woodstock is very important here, and everybody has to realize that. And we also have to realize, you know, we do own the house, and it is approved for housing. So would you rather us, you know, fix the house?
Recovering drug addicts.
You know, you don't want to have housing and just have high school kids living there, because I know what we have high school kids and we know what they do. So, you know, we have to make money on it regardless. We want to be in Woodstock. We have a very, very big supportive. Everybody's being supportive of us. You know, hundreds of people are messaging us. So we know people are going to come out of the woodwork here, but I just, you know, I don't want to make this a bad thing, you know, and I really stress to everybody on this committee how important it was for us to keep the house to date and restore it. And from the road, I get it, you're going to see the parking lot. You see a parking lot now. In the church, you see it full, and people playing basketball and lights on. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on there anyway. So us restoring the house and putting flowers and having a little bit over 20 parking spots, I don't see it, you know. I'm sorry, but I disagree with you. And the bottom line is we do own the house, man. And, you know, and even on the, we just have a lot of support. And I know there's people going to not support us, but that's your opinion, you know, and you're entitled to it. And we do have a lot of support in the planning and zoning, believe it or not. So, you know, we'll just take it as we get it, I guess. You know, and hopefully that people respect that. I totally respect Woodstock Hill and the integrity. I know I used to do work for Dr. Middleton, used to live on Woodstock Hill. And so that being said, I don't know.
All right, so we appreciate that your commitment to the integrity of the house and your comments. And I think we're going to make sure that we keep comments and questions pretty much addressed to main issues of the various features of the property that are being proposed and the plan itself. And So does anybody, Jean, do you have any more questions to ask or comments?
No, I don't think I do.
Okay,
And
thank you
thank
very
you,
much.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Dan Forrest.
Yes, hello, this is Dan Forrest. I live at 36 Old Hall Road. I am a professional archaeologist. I'm the former State Historic Preservation Officer for Connecticut. I just very briefly want to say that I appreciate that the applicants have reduced the number of parking spaces and added additional screening and buffering from the Child Hill Road entrance. I think that that is an improvement from what the commission reviewed last month. And I definitely appreciate the efforts to address the commission's comments by the applicant and their consultants. I also wanted to touch just very briefly on one other aspect of the archaeology, because this was a question raised by John earlier in the hearing this evening. The Connecticut path that Jean McClellan mentioned is relevant, but I want to in particular focus on one of the other factors which suggests that that property is located in an archaeologically sensitive area. Kristen already spoke about the contact period, the 1690s trading post, but one of the reasons that the original settlers of Woodstock laid out the original home lots on Woodstock Hill is that the land had already been cleared. And that hilltop clearing, even in northeastern Connecticut, was likely relatively uncommon until the early 17th century by Native Americans. There's a reason why hilltops became much more common locations for settlements, and that's a huge number of wars and fighting, not just between the colonists and the indigenous people, but also among various groups of indigenous peoples living in this area. So there's good reason to believe that Woodstock Hill was an area of settlement for likely an extended period of time, but in particular for the early 17th century. And that's a period about which archaeologists know very little, particularly in this part of the state. So there is potentially important information that could be recovered were any of those resources to be located on the lot. So I also support the commission's request for an archaeological assessment of this property, and hope that the applicant will pursue information regarding that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Let's see. Anybody else have a question or comment? Anybody else amongst the public have a question or comment to make? Dan Atwood. You need to unmute yourself, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I am speaking on behalf of my wife, Mary, and myself. Mary sent a letter before your first public hearing on this topic. And I think overall, we do continue to have the same concerns that we've had. I will say I very much appreciate the vision and the passion that the Beausoleils have for their enterprise. And I also made note of a desire to be flexible where they feel that they can. And I would encourage the Historic District to explore that with the Beausoleils. When all is said and done, your purpose obviously is to uphold the character of the Historic District. That's why the vast majority of the residents and enterprises in the Historic District voted overwhelmingly to create the Historic District. And that does create some specific authorities and responsibilities on the part of your commission. There are three words that I want to emphasize. One is prominence. The This particular location is an especially prominent location within the historic district. So I think whatever does get done there, it's of utmost importance in terms of that. It's contiguous to the town common. And so from both a cultural and historic point of view, it's an extremely important location. And then also from a natural beauty point of view, it's extraordinarily important as well, as being right at that corner there, and then with the view that it offers, looking to the north. So I think the prominence of that location makes it especially important that whatever does get done there is done with the utmost care. Secondly, the word precedence comes to mind, and I know Mary touched on that in her original letter to you. A project of this significance for this very precious historic district, something that's of critical importance to keep in mind is what type of precedence does it set, and I'm sure your commission will keep that very much in mind. And then lastly, the word protection, which is basically as the residents and the enterprises of this historic district voted for, they and our family included, consider it to be just an incredibly precious place. And so whatever gets undertaken, just ask you to be really careful in that regard. And I don't want to get into specific details other than to say, obviously, there are a tremendous amount of details that are questions that remain unanswered. And I hope that everybody involved in this project, this proposed project, will take all of these considerations in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, for your comments. And I just have one comment in response to your statement about precedence. And it's important that within the district, we really work hard to take every project on its merits. We look at each project specifically for two purposes. One is for the impact of what's proposed on that particular property itself, and that includes the landscape as well as the structure. And then secondly, we also look at the impact of the proposed project on the character defining features of the entire district. How does it change the location? As you said, the natural aspect of the location and of the district and what impact it has. And that going forward, when we properly may follow our protocols, we do not establish a precedent by by decisions that we make about one property, nor do we look at something else that's within the district and use it for justification for a decision making. We really work hard to try and look at each property first of all independently, and then in terms of its impact on the character defining features. And then, so that being said, that's a perfect entryway for me to say that Woodstock is one of those unique locations where it's not just the buildings. And I appreciate the Beausoleils talking so much about their commitment to the building itself, because that house is important architecturally for the district. It's a contributing structure for the district. But in addition, that the character defining features for the historic district include the view shed. We are rural, we are pastoral, and those viewscapes within the district are just as important as the structures themselves. So when we are trying to determine whether or not to approve or disapprove of proposals, we take the impact on the view shed just as importantly as we take the impact of a proposal on the structure itself. So thanks for bringing that up, Dan. Jock, I see your hand up next. And you need to unmute yourself.
I'm seldom unmuted. So parking has been, I think, the question that's bothered me the most and many people. Am I allowed under procedure to ask Jason and Jamie a direct question about parking, or can I just express a question?
You express a question, and then whomever is best equipped, the Jason and Jamie or John or Pete, whoever best equipped to answer it will answer it.
Well, first, a statement. I still don't understand why 21 parking spaces are needed given the estimated traffic. So I have a question. Are Jamie and Jason willing to commit to us that the parking spaces they're proposing will be used only for the clients of the Rusty Relic and residents of the house, and for no one else?
I'll answer that. Yes, you know, if you ever go by the Scranton shops or ever go by the Coventry store, parking lot is full. All right, we're gonna need those spots for sure. And you know, I know there was a comment last week where somebody asked about if Woodstock kids were gonna park in a parking spot for $5, and you know, I didn't go buy over a $300,000 house to make $5 a day. You know, so that's, you know, I don't know who made that comment, but yeah, that's totally untrue. I know the gas station, yeah, it's kind of an insult, to be honest with you. We're gonna need those parking spots, and we're not gonna do, you know, make $5 a day in a car. So that's, you know, that's just common sense. So, you know, I know the gas station has something to do with that. The park, I don't know, they can do it, you know, that's his business, but we're gonna need that parking lot. You know, like I said, I expressed before, the most followed country store in New England. So, you know, people coming out of state, easily traveling 2 hours, 2.5 hours to come see us on the weekends. So that being said, I'd really rather have enough spots than to flood the street and in the church. So, I mean, you know, so again, if anybody ever go down 169 and take a right and look at the Scranton parking lots Saturday, Sunday, good luck finding a parking spot. And they got a lot of spots. So, and Coventry's the same. So, you know, we do go to Pennsylvania every single week, fill up a 20-foot truck, all Amish-made furniture, and half the truck, 3/4 is already sold. So, you know, people are coming to pick it up. I'm delivering it, and those spots are definitely necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I take it there will be no commercial use of the parking spaces. And I want to say that answered, Jason, and your flexibility on plantings and on the gate for the 169 area and a number of other things is something I'm really pleased to see. It's clear that you're trying
I just
hard.
didn't want to put a sign there. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, a sign. So, you know, if I put a sign there saying residential use only, you know, people are going to use it. You know, I know how dangerous that corner is. So I'm going to gate it, and this way we have no problems, no accidents. So I appreciate it. I know you're agreeing with me. So, yeah.
And the last comment is I knew the Chases who lived in that house some time ago and visited their kitchen often. And I guess a site visit would answer the questions about why that couldn't be an entrance. It would seem to me that that's a real possibility worth exploring. At any rate, I will just state that I would find it much more fitting for the area if the entrance could be on the north side. And I think it could solve a number of problems with the whole thing. And maybe there'd be a way to make that entrance as interesting as the one that you currently envision. I think that's all that I have.
Thank you, Jock. Let's see. Mrs. Lyman. Oops, you're muted back again.
Okay, here I am. Alexandra Lyman at 531 Route 169. I have listened carefully at both of the hearings, and I find that many of my own concerns about entering traffic and site changes are being answered. I would like to comment that when one looks at this house, it is in a stage of neglect. The shrubbery is overgrown, the grounds are not maintained, the barn is beginning to fall down. And in some ways, it's fortunate that there are people who have purchased it who will be willing to address those considerations. So I am encouraged by those facts. Thanks.
Thank you. We
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
that.
Is there, thank you, Sam. Tom,
I'm very encouraged with what the Beausoleils have been saying. As I wrote in one of the earlier meetings, I drove through here in the 1960s and came around that corner, and Woodstock Commons and the Pink House revealed themselves. I would hate to see that corner cover what's on the exterior of the house when they're using it. I think they have made a commitment to keep it neat and clean and very sightly, and I think that's what we'd like to see. I'm finding things encouraging here, and I think they want to move forward, and I think moving forward with the archaeological survey is an important thing, and I don't think there's any reason why that couldn't move forward very soon. But thank you, Beausoleils, for making me feel a little better about this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
thank you, Tom. Let's see, does anybody else from the member of the public have additional comments or questions? Seeing none. All right, commissioners, do you have any additional questions or comments for the applicants?
Not at this time.
This is Stan. I do not.
All right. Tim?
This is Tim. I do not.
Thank you. I just want to reinforce, let's see, say two things. First of all is that we do appreciate, Jamie and Jason, your commitment to a historic house, and your understanding of the importance of owning a property within the historic district. We appreciate your flexibility already in thinking, as we've been discussing this project tonight, to entertain some alternatives. And I think we can work going forward to really, I think you are as committed as we are to maintaining the historic integrity of the district. And I think we have a good chance of working together on your proposal. So I really appreciate your flexibility in doing this, and your appreciation and your support for the district, as well as your ability to continue with this in the parking lot of the Pennsylvania turnoff. Let's see. And at this point, in the public hearing, there's a final chance for Jamie and Jason, or John and Pete, to provide any clarifications or make any additional statements.
Just me again, Jason Bosley. I appreciate everybody tonight, and I need your guys' help, your support, and your trust. When I say trust, I don't know if anybody has Facebook. We wouldn't have it, wasn't for the stores because we don't like. But if you have Facebook, go on our social media, go check out what the inside of the stores look like. I don't do the decorating. My wife does. I don't want to take credit for that. But she takes hours to decorate, and she loves it, and she has all these ideas with, inside the house. And again, the house is turnkey. We don't have to do really anything at all except decorate and make it beautiful. And the hardwood floor, everything's gonna fit the house store perfect. And as we're working, there's gonna be a maintenance crew out there every single week, repairing, fixing. I'm gonna, pretty much live there, just fixing the place up because it needs a lot of work, and we're the people who do it, and I get it, the historical district, and I get it why do you want to retail? I get it all, but the Rusty Relic fits that house perfectly, and I'm not gonna let anybody down and making it look like it's not gonna look like a circus. Trust me, it'll look beautiful, and you're not gonna know it's a store by driving down 169. It's not gonna look like a retail store.
I appreciate
that. I want to make that very, very clear, okay, to everybody. And I know everybody's concerns, but I just want to make it clear. So
I think I probably speak for everyone in saying that we appreciate your commitment to that, and as well as your enthusiasm for moving into the district, and your enthusiasm for the house as well as your business. And I think that the main concerns, I think, before we go into our closed deliberations, I just want to say that our main concerns have to do with the impact of taking the parking areas on a site that has not had any kind of paved surfaces, the changes that's going to make to that viewscape, and the locations of a few items such as the large concrete apron and the dumpsters, and we appreciate the fact that you're already willing to move that dumpster over to the east side. You're willing to consider working to preserve that well house, and so alter your parking plan a little bit, which I think would help for access for that dumpster. I do have a question for you regarding, has the fire marshal been in to check any on capacity for your property, for your
no,
retail?
We did talk to Jason Garum, he's a friend of mine, and he was in maintenance through the whole, he works for the Woodstock School, so everything is up to date. The students had just left that house before we bought it, so everything's up to date, and we have full insurance in the house, so everything is hooked up properly.
I understand that, but before any kind of retail space,
right?
Is,
no, I know. I have to have the fire marshal come through.
And he assigns a certain capacity, maximum capacity at any given point in time, at any specific set point for that property, for that building. And I just wondered if you had that done yet, so that you would be able to tell us what the set maximum capacity was for the property.
We haven't. Like in the past stores we had, like the Coventry and Woodstock, once we had everything set up, we had the fire marshal come through. He let us know how close the furniture could be, and how so right. He I guess that's what we did in the past, was once we get everything set up, he comes through and lets us know if we're too tight with furniture, if things have to be spread out a little bit. And then, with the square footage of the house, what's retail space, he'll let us know the capacity, how many people we can have in at one time, so.
Right. Well, that also helps us to understand the needs for your parking space as well. That helps to inform on that. And we have been talking about the need for an archaeological survey or assessment. And I just want to make sure that you understand that, the necessity of doing that based upon the excavations that you're proposing for the site.
Yeah, I do. I do have to talk to John and see how far deep we have to dig and how, what the recommendations are. I mean, when we're doing a driveway, it doesn't go down necessarily very deep as far as, removing the gravel, putting subsoil down, 3/4 inch stone with stone dust and rolling it. We're not digging the septic systems and stuff. So I do have to talk to John and see, what the regulations are between what you're proposing and, as far as, because, again, the gravel driveway is not very a big project. So I just want to talk to him about it.
Right.
Off the record.
Yeah, no,
We'll coordinate on it.
that's understandable, and I wasn't asking you to make a commitment.
Oh
at this
yeah,
time.
no.
But
John,
I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that that's before we close the public hearing part and go into our deliberations. I just want to make sure that you're hearing the fact that we're going to state the necessity for an archaeological assessment.
If I might, Madam Chair, John Guskowski for the record, I would ask if, I don't know if it's what your standard procedure is, but my request would be that rather than closing this, that this public hearing be continued to give us a chance to investigate the opportunities to provide some site redesign to respond to
yeah, when I say close the public hearing, I'm closing the public portion of that, and then we'll go into deliberations. And so if you at this time would like to put in a request to continue the application, then that will be what we'll deliberate on.
I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. That was what I was asking.
Okay, good. All right. Let's see. All right, then if there are no further questions or comments, then commission members, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So move, Harold Bishop.
I'll second. This is Stan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? All right, public hearing is closed. And so commissioners, now let's see, the public comment and applicant comment portion is closed at this point. And so everybody will be muted except for the commission members, and we will deliberate, we'll discuss. So what basically the applicant has requested that we continue the public hearing until next month. So that's where we are with the topic for discussion. Thoughts?
This is Stan. And I feel forward tonight fairly well. My prime concern is the handicap thing, and I would like to do a site visit if we can and explore a ramp in the back.
All right.
And I would also how we can discuss dumpster in its new location by the other side of the barn.
Yes, I tend to agree with you that at this point, I think that a site visit with the Beausoleils and perhaps probably John or Pete Parent is good with maps in hand, so that we can address a few of the issues that we can help them to form the best application possible. Tim,
Yeah.
Tim, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're on legal grounds when we require an archaeological survey.
We are it's part of the Secretary of Interior standards that.
Okay, I've just never seen that before.
We have, there hasn't been a project like this before that's come before us before, but I did the check. I checked today, and
okay.
Archaeology is a potentially archaeologically sensitive site is part of the Secretary of Interior standards, and the need to assess that is is part of our due diligence.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the applicant's ability to be flexible, and he has made some good changes. I think this could be tweaked a little more where it could be accepted.
And Harold?
I have no further comment at this time, but I would suggest that I move to continue the hearing for another month.
Okay, I have a motion to continue the public hearing. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Tim? Is there any further discussion on that?
Not me. This is
No?
Stan.
All right, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, and the motion is carried. So we will continue the public hearing until next month. The regular meeting is scheduled for the 4th Wednesday of September. And that would be the regular meeting. Jason and Jamie and John and Pete, we'd therefore like to arrange a site visit, an opportunity to get on site and really take a look at some of the pertinent issues, and work with you to be able to shape an application that satisfies the needs of the historic district and is respectful of the district, and at the same time is able to accomplish what you need for your location.
So, Madam Chairman, John Guskowski, we would ask that you coordinate with your commission to determine a couple of best fit dates where you could get a sufficient number of them to, and then let us know, and we will be there.
Right. Who should I communicate with? Who's the conduit for information for contact then? Jason and Jamie, or would it be John?
I submitted the application. You can contact me.
All right. So I will. I'll be in touch with the commission members to come up with 2 or 3 dates and times that are best for us, and then get those to you, John, within the week, and then we can arrange to get the site visit
Great.
all set up. And Jason and Jamie, I thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you, and to hear about your plans, and we look forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for your time, guys. We got a 3-hour way home now.
All right.
All right.
Good luck.
Have a good night, everybody.
Drive safely.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Somewhere here, there's a regular agenda. Next up is on the regular meeting is the review of minutes so what we need to do is approve the minutes for last month. I sent it out to all of you. I'll just take a motion to approve the July 22nd minutes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
That Harold second. Is there any discussion? I guess I'll interject. The only thing I have to do is a slight correction. I misspelled. I got Kristen Heitert's name wrong, so I'll make that correction. And other than that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. There is no correspondence. Is there any additional public comment? Doesn't look like it. There is no old business or new business. And anybody have any old or new business to bring up?
No.
No.
Negative.
All right, so I will be in email touch with all of you looking for, I'll probably send you some dates that look good and times that look good for me. While we're talking, does anybody have a date, a morning, afternoon preference, or is it going to depend entirely on what day of the week it is? Tim, you're working, right?
Yeah, I usually have Friday off now.
Okay.
So Friday morning would be good.
Friday AM.
At this point, I'm wide open.
All right. And Harold, you pretty flexible?
Yes, I'm flexible up until the 15th of September when I go for a hip.
Oh, well, we need to get you before the 15th of September.
Right.
All right.
Stan is wide open.
Okay. All right, very good. Then I will take a look at my schedule and send some, it probably won't be this Friday, which is day after tomorrow, but potentially next Friday in the morning. If it looks good, that'll be the one we'll try and see if that'll work. Other than that, motion to adjourn.
Harold Bishop, so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion carried. We're out. Thank you, gentlemen, for hanging in
All
there.
right. Good night, guys.
We'll be seeing you. Take care.